Hi, everybody. So today we have a very, very special woman with us. Her name is Florence. Did I get that right?
Yes, you did.
So
Hi.
you did such justice to my name. I had to get that perfect. Thank you
You
so
did.
much for joining me today. And so Florence, I went and I was stalking you on the internet there, as we do.
As we do. That's why the internet is there, right?
Exactly. And you came across as such a wonderful professional person, speaking, a mom of Yorkies and two awesome boys, it sounds like. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what is it that you do.
Okay, perfect. So thank you very much for having me, and hello to everybody out there. So a little bit about me. So I will start with, we always start with, I grew up in a small town somewhere. So that is my story. I grew up in a small town in Zimbabwe known as Gweru. And its motto was the city of progress. So I guess I kind of tried to live that as I went on in life. And I am the third of 5 kids and a product of, I'm definitely that middle child, the one that was usually confused through their life, which is okay. The confusion worked for me, apparently, so that's good. Parents were educationists, so working hard, work ethic, studying was it just came with the environment. If I was bored, my mother would say, "Go get a book." Yeah, okay.
So don't tell me your stories, just go read something.
No, the library was her local babysitting service. After school, go to the library, you wait for me, and she'd pick us up like hours later. So what do you do in a library? You read. So that was my growing up years. So I've always been, I guess, a bit curious in terms of wanting to learn new things, understand new things. And my career took me from, I studied psychology at the University of Zimbabwe, and then I worked for the consulting firms in Zimbabwe for a while, Deloitte, PwC. I was that typical corporate consultant that moved between firms. And then I moved to South Africa with PwC and decided that this was home. And then we never left. And I then stayed in consulting. I'm a change management specialist. That is my bread and butter career for 24, 25 years. And in between corporate and consulting. So I also had 5 wonderful years with Absa Group before I decided to go back on my own. So from a career perspective, my last consulting employer was IBM. And then when I had my first son, TJ is now 15, and I left IBM and decided I needed to, what I called in my mind was to raise a superhero. My son was born one-handed. He is the most amazing young man. He does everything. All the adventure sports, whatever gives me a heart attack is what he wants to do. Go-karting and segwaying, but I decided he needed my attention. And then I went into business from that point. I did retail for a little bit, and then I went back into independent consulting. Got a taste of independent consulting and I enjoyed it. And then in the middle of that, I became a happily divorced single mom at some point. And I had my 2 boys. And I decided I needed to join a corporate for a bit. So I joined Absa Group. And Absa Group was amazing. There were a lot of my old PwC, IBM consulting buddies.
I did the Accenture thing. Okay.
Yeah, so you know.
Just a mixed match of the same people.
All the same people. So it was like going back home, actually. Even my old boss was there. So it was awesome. I was a bit of an internal change management, kind of like go-to person. I became called Miss Fix-It because I would just fix problems. I was a problem solver. But at the end, after a couple of years, I moved around to about 4 divisions and decided that was enough. I needed to leave and just go back on my own. I don't do well having a boss. I think I do well as a boss, but not having a boss. Really, I don't do well with that. I don't like being told what to do. I really
Okay,
don't.
I'm going to like steal that line. Okay, I'm just warning you right now.
Please steal it. Feel
I don't
free.
like a boss. I just like being a boss.
I like being a boss. I realized this about myself. It was always something my people used to label me as stubborn as a kid. And then I realized, no, I actually just I like making my own decisions. And I like sometimes choosing a path no one else is really choosing because I can. So I resigned in 2019 and then I opened up Flow Consult February 2020. And the intent was so my career has been interesting, as you may have seen from my profile. So between the consulting, I went into real estate for about 2 years. I joined Fine and Country and set up Danefo. And I opened up the area. I'm a qualified realtor as well. I wrote the board exam and everything because I thought I'd do a bit of both, do consulting and do real estate because I love property. And I noticed you guys are like deep in property. And after about 2 years, I decided, okay, you know what? The Danefo areas were great to sell in, but big houses take a hell of a long time to sell. Then I decided actually my charging per hour, it's much more profitable than running around after buyers and sellers who can't make up their minds. So I sort of left it and carried on in consulting. So, you dabble a bit. And I then went back into consulting, coaching, specifically leadership coaching, and especially for women. So I was saying I went into leadership coaching, but especially around building resilience. So I started running quite a few sessions around building resilience. And because I'm a change management specialist, a lot of what I realized is a lot of change is about leading yourself. Self-leadership is a huge thing. And once you can lead yourself, you can not only lead others, but you can lead others in the right way because you're more self-aware. You understand your blind spots and you carry on from there. So the coaching it's a passion of mine. I feel it's very linked to my purpose. The speaking came naturally because I do a lot of training as well. So my organization is called Flow Consult. Play on my name, yes, because people always say go with the flow, and I'm like, okay, I'll put a play on my name, it's fine. So Flow who consults, Flow Consults. And we do speaking. I do speaking. I do a lot of consulting work still. Consulting work never really leaves you. And I do a lot of change management consulting, a lot of culture work with the bigger clients, smaller clients, and I've got a few joint ventures that I also work with. I'm director of Human Change Management Institute, which is a global institute, and we do certification training in change management, commonly known as HCM-BOK, or Human Change Management Body of Knowledge. And that's a certification that people can take wherever they are in the world. It was largely in Spanish and Portuguese before, which is why nobody knew about it. So we are the first English-speaking hub. Yes. So it started off in Brazil. So they've got lots of Spanish and Portuguese speaking certified change consultants, but the English part was now us opening it up 2 years ago. So it's also been a baby we've been nurturing, doing webinars and everything, but really it links back to coaching. We're really coaching in change. And yeah, so it's coaching, speaking, and consulting. So that's sort of my plate as I put it. And yeah, that's about me.
You kind of mentioned there that you said especially for women. Why do you think that this was needed specifically for women as well?
What I found in as I started running the sessions, I realized that, and funny thing is, you would think I have 2 boys, so I should be balancing it out. But I see a gap, and the gap is when women empowerment happens. Let's push the women up. That's great. The challenge is a lot of women doubt themselves. So they're thinking of all the reasons why they won't make it to the next promotion, or all the reasons why they're not ticking every single box. So they don't put themselves out there. And the younger women, even right from school, the thing of, the boys do better than the girls, or the girls must do this and the boys must do this. Look at even at toy shops. Everything's pink for the girls and then it's blue for the boys, and the tractors are in the boys section and the dolls are in the girls section. So that conditioning comes through life, and as women grow up, they need to know that they can do anything they put their minds to. I was very inspired when I was with ABSA because I was in technology as head of change management. So I looked after the techies. We brought in 60 young Black female interns. That was an amazing year. We retained 45 of the 60. It was an uphill battle, I kid you not, because first we had to justify why we're bringing in 60 graduates.
Yeah.
And what I realized as I started doing lean-in circles with them, I did a lot of mentoring with them. And there was just this sort of nagging self-doubt. And I would say, but where are you? Why do you need permission to show up? You don't need permission. You give the permission, you take the permission. And if you've got a problem, then we help you to address it. But I saw so much hesitancy. And I think this is part of the reason why it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, especially in corporates. When corporates say we don't have enough women in leadership, then women get promoted up, but now they're thinking I was promoted because I was a figurehead. And then there's a room full of men. Those are all good things. Those are not bad things. Those are good things. And in technology, you used to see it a lot. And the bias that exists can only be changed by the people experiencing the bias. You can't expect men to change their bias because they're women in the room. No, you need to find a way to work with the guys. And it's a skill that you develop in yourself. And you just don't take no for an answer. You don't have to be aggressive. You just have to be subtle. So that is where I found there is a gap. And I just, that's why I like doing talks.
And I think, as I'm having these discussions with a lot of other women like yourself, for me, that is the one thing that keeps on coming up. The same thing from different people is that self-doubt that women have. And I mean, I know me, myself as well. I'm still, and I've realized this about myself now, luckily. So I can monitor and like when it comes up, I'm like, It's like this whole thing about imposter syndrome. I'm so scared somebody's going to find out something. I don't know what, because I'm like, no, just stop it.
Yeah, but you know where it comes from as well, Rita. It comes from because we raise, and this is just a theory I have, which I have seen, and it's my opinion, but we raise children. We have children. So we are natural perfectionists. If we were not perfectionists, that child wouldn't make it to the age of 1, would they? We check on them, we do this, we do this. So we do the same to our careers. We question everything we do, but we don't have to be perfect to show up. We just have to show up. And I remember that imposter syndrome that you've just spoken about. I went through that phase too. And I remember sitting and questioning myself and thinking, why am I doubting myself? And then I tried something different. I tried just saying yes to everything that was offered to me. And I stopped saying no. And the transformation in myself was phenomenal. Now, I remember one of the latest very large clients we signed up. We attended that session. I was the only woman in the room. And I sat around and I thought, actually, this is pretty cool. Yeah, for all I know, maybe I'm the one with the best ideas. I don't know. So I just carried on. And I assumed that my voice matters. So it's important to assume your voice matters. Don't make yourself small, because, I always say we are given these, I like to call them superpowers. I do a lot of talking around superpowers. What's your superpower? And I always say your superpower is your God-given gifts. It's our unique gifts. And that gift may be the ability to find a different point of view. It may be the ability to make people feel at ease. That's a skill, so you need to know what your skill is and you tap into it. So I'm big on playing to your strengths. Who cares what half your weaknesses are? Nobody cares, what are your strengths, and tap into those, because that's what gets rid of that imposter syndrome, because people value you for being uniquely you. And if more young girls were told this at a young age, that the fact that you are you is your superpower. It's you being you. And that's how you show up. Look at half the celebrities, the ones who are really famous. Why are they famous? Because they show up as themselves. They're just them, take it or leave it. Oprah, Anele, they take it or leave it. I mean,
Yeah.
and that's what makes them amazing, because they're authentic.
Yes, Sure. Okay. Well, so what would you say would be some of the advice? So you've now gone through from being an employee, you've now created your own business. What would you say was the one or two of the hardest things that you had to overcome to be able to make that transition?
The one, I guess, we have alluded to, but I would call it, there was a deep-seated fear of, but what if it doesn't work the way I wanted to? And that I had to overcome. But the way I overcame it, because I resigned, there were lots of reorganizations, and what do we call them? There are many fancy words to org design these days in big corporates, career transitions and reorganization. And so I decided I wasn't waiting for one of those. I was just going to leave. So I resigned. And that was a big step. And then COVID hit at exactly the same time as I was starting my company.
Time to start a business.
COVID came along, and I'm like, okay, so these plans I had have to look different. So what I think I did so that was the initial, that fear. But the way I overcome fear is, we always say it's important in life to have a plan A plan B, and a plan C. And all my experiences through life have taught me that. So my plan A was, okay, I'm going to be running we're going to be running physical training. I'm going to be doing live speaking. I'm going to be doing physical coaching. I learned very quickly that I needed to move to virtual. And I cannot remember how many seminars on everything under the sun around Zoom and Teams. And I just had to equip myself with information really, really quickly. But at the same time, the other fear I had is, my old employer actually asked me to come back to do some consulting work. They needed help with COVID-19 implementation, because I am the change manager and I had looked after a particular site for years. So I knew exactly what needed to be done, and it was a critical site. So as others were running into the house with level 5, there I was with my mask and sanitizer out into the world with my level 5 permit. I was terrified. However, I knew that what I needed to do was important not only for me, it was important for the continuity of the business. So I just shifted my life a little bit, and I would do mornings, and we had the homeschooling as well. And, I am the parent. So there was the homeschooling in the morning with the kids, and I'd work and do virtual work. And then in the afternoons, I'd go physically to the client, and then I would come back. So I conquered that fear by continually moving forward. So if I am to give one tip, it's, you can't stand still when you are afraid. Your fear only goes away by action. The more you do, the less afraid you are, because your what ifs go away. Because what is fear? Fear is false expectations appearing real. It hasn't happened yet. So we go, what if? Oh, what if? Oh, what if the sky falls down? What if? You can have as many what ifs as you want, but none of it has actually materialized. So you have to say, what if it works? So you can turn a negative what if into positive. So for me, that was one of the really big things I learned, and I pushed through. The second,
that you, sorry, I just want to touch on that a little bit deeper. So I like the way that you say that, when you fear, when you feel that, it almost like paralyzes you.
Yes.
So just by taking action and doing something, you're kind of shortcutting that paralysis that's happening in your brain, and that thing takes the fear away. So I really think that is a very cool way of thinking about it. So when you, I think there's a book as well, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway.
Yep.
Which is a really, really cool book as well for anybody that would like
to. Absolutely.
Like reading. That's the second one, yes.
And the second, I guess, challenge that I had in the transition was a very practical challenge. So in transitioning, with a small business, there's no ready cash flow sitting there waiting for you. and you can sort out all your bills, etc. Yes, you've got a float to a certain point, but that float runs out very quickly. So the planning around the kind of work I needed to do, what I needed to focus on to make the business successful. And I had learned from the first time around. I didn't say this earlier. In my independent phase before I joined ABSA, I was independent for about 4 or 5 years. I ran a little company and I really was just myself. And I would say I was a very successful failure in that. I failed at it because what I failed and I had to walk away. I was a very successful failure. I mean, if I think back, I go, now I know what not to do. I signed myself up to these sort of third-party contract things, and I was stuck in the middle of some deal or another deal. I didn't have room to actually grow the business. I was too dependent on one consulting job or another. So was I really working for myself? No, not really. So I learned that the first time around. So that lesson I took with me. And I said, this time around, I'm positioning this differently. So what did I do in terms of ensuring I generated revenue quickly, especially in the beginning? I did 2 things. I reached out to my old networks. And that is what got me the work with my old employer. It was my old networks. And I went in and I did what I needed to do. That was good revenue coming in, which helped me stay afloat in that terrible first part of level 5, where a lot of businesses simply couldn't handle it because a lot of the work had just literally disappeared. So I had to create work. But what I also did is I got myself a business coach. So the one thing I did was invest in a business coach. And I found him online I attended some these entrepreneur webinars. There were tons of them, conferences, and they'd go on for 3 days and over the weekend. And this one guy just stood out for me, Coach Oscar. And shout out to Coach Oscar. He's amazing. And Coach Oscar, I signed up with him and he pushed me. My gosh, did he push me? Why are you not out there more? Why are you not more visible? I don't see you much on LinkedIn. I don't see you on Facebook. You need to do this. You need to do this. And he just helped me wake up. And I woke up. And then I realized, okay, so what I want to do and what is needed out there are actually aligned. So I can honestly say I have now put myself in a position where I feel like I'm living my purpose. And I feel like living my purpose is also helping other business owners out there, especially other women business owners out there, to say you can do this. You might think that you don't have all your ducks in a row. Whoever has their ducks in a row. I saw a statement that says, no, I don't have my ducks in a row and my squirrels are at a rave. It was just some random statement. Squirrels at a rave. And I don't have my ducks in a row. I don't know where they are. So as an entrepreneur, that sense of I don't have my ducks in a row, I have gotten accustomed to feeling it. It's not a source of panic anymore. In any given day, I am probably juggling 4 or 5 different things. But I've learned to plan carefully and make use of equipment, make use of diary, the diary app. Like I have Calendly. So when people say, do you have time? I just send the link. Here's the link. It syncs all my diaries. I make sure that everything is synced and I sync the children's, pick up the kids and, because they are, they've got their own lives and mommy must still go and do pick up after rugby and pick up after, I'm just like a, company taxi. And if I can't make it because I'm...
If nothing else, you'll succeed as being an Uber driver.
Yes, no, I'll definitely succeed at being an Uber driver. I'm trying to teach the recipients of the lifts that they must also be a little more organized. That's quite tough to do, but they're getting it now. They're getting it. So I think the planning is important. We are all scatterbrained. I am very scatterbrained, but when it comes to the work I need to do, I always say to people, let's set up a session sometime. I'll say when and what are your times, so that it's in the diary, then it's done. Yes. Otherwise, you'll go sometime, maybe when, So and I've just learned, you don't know, especially with a smaller business and it's newer, you don't know where your niche actually is until you say yes to quite a few things. Then you work out from there what actually is your niche. And that's what I've learned to do.
I love this thing where you say that you put everything in the diary, and I'm also trying to teach everybody in the business and around me that, guys, it's not in the diary, it isn't real.
Doesn't exist.
Don't talk to me about it if it's not in the diary.
Yes, because when it's in the diary,
you need that, and also when you talk about something, or somebody tries to talk to you in between things that's happening, and they just call you quickly for something, it's kind of like it goes in and out, gone.
Yes, it does.
Because you don't have that focused time to just sit and talk about that specific thing for a few minutes and kind of let it sink in. So that diary thing is, I think, is a very, very important tip for anybody, not just for people and entrepreneurs and so on, but definitely for anybody out there.
Yes.
Make use of your tools.
Yes, you use your tools, and we always say our phones have also become our personal planets, right? So if you struggle to remember something, put an alarm on it. Use the tools, because these tools have replaced our memories in a big way. Who remembers phone numbers? It's in your phone, right? The phone numbers in your phone, the appointments are in your phone. So it's okay that the phone is now our robotic assistant. It's fine.
Boom! That's it. I don't have a phone anymore. I have a robotic assistant.
You have a robotic assistant.
I love it. I'm writing it down.
You can write it down. We do. We have a robot. Think about it.
Where's my robotic assistant? Because that's exactly what it is.
I always laugh. I do this little test. I have a restaurant I order from, and I always get these varsity youngsters with their little cars to deliver it. So I always challenge each one, and I know them quite well now. Then I'll say, oh, you can add the tip, add the 10%, and then round it up. Then they look at me like deer in headlights. I'm like, can't you do mental maths anymore? They're like, man, I can't remember the last time I did. I say, well, if you can't add it up, then you're not going to get a tip, are you? So if I were you,
I would go back and do a little bit of 101 math there again.
So now, by the time they come to my house, they've already worked out the tip in their car because they don't want to be asked the question.
They know now.
Now they know. But yes, we have a robotic assistant in our phone. So yeah.
No, very, very true.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So Florence, tell me if somebody would like to get a hold of you to either get some of your, because I'm on the other side of Zoom, but I can feel your energy, and it's really it's quite, and I'm sure anybody on the other side of the screen can feel that and just almost like experience it. Where can people get a hold of you?
Okay, so mine is pretty simple. If they're on LinkedIn, they'll just type in Florence Chikowore. They will find me. I do believe I'm the only one out there, I think. And then, but if my LinkedIn handle is, I always like to think, but I don't think so actually, because my ex-sister-in-law was also called Florence, and then she married my ex-husband's brother, and his surname was also Chikowore. So there is another Florence Chikowore out there. But Florence Chikowore on LinkedIn. And then on Facebook, they can look up Flow Consult. Then they'll find Flow Consult. The long version is Change Leadership Coaching, but just Flow Consult is fine. And or they can find me on my actual number. I'm very happy to share it if I should. I always wonder about that one. I'm like, do I share it? It's on LinkedIn too. So
yeah, the thing is, if it's in any case on social media, then yeah, I suppose it doesn't matter.
No, they'll find it. If they're going to LinkedIn, they can email me as well. I generally tend to use LinkedIn and Facebook as my primary platforms. People keep saying you should have Instagram and Twitter. I said, yeah, but I want to use the platforms I know I'll use a lot. And I use LinkedIn and Facebook a lot. I just chose those two for now. But I think with the speaking, I might move to Instagram a little bit. Oh, and my website, of course. They can also find all my details on www.flowconsult.co.za. Nice and simple.
Great. Thank you so much. It was awesome chatting to you.
It was lovely chatting to you too. Thank you for having me. And yeah, this was a fun way to spend Heritage Day. Hey, nice and different.